Hey guys, I'm here at Mount St. Macrina in Uniontown right now, and it's pretty gross out. But I kind of figured that we could do a little virtual pilgrimage, if you will. So, to my side here we have the prayer garden, and this is pretty much what you see when you first come onto the grounds. And this is typically where the teenagers hang out. It's where most of their events are. So, like if they have any socials or anything, it's typically in there, and also it's just where they tend to hang out. Then we move forward here. We end up at the main building here, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. But basically, if my understanding is correct, all of these grounds were once owned by a coal baron, and he donated the grounds, I believe, to the Sisters of St. Basil. I might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the history here. So you have an absolutely massive house here that is used for the pilgrimage and for retreats. Go over here, and we have the altar shrine. And effectively what the altar shrine is it's where we do a bunch of prayer services, including the Divine Liturgy, when it's not pouring down rain. So today we had the Church Slavonic Divine Liturgy in the Trinity Center, which is that brick building down there that I'll get to in a minute. But you see each of these white spots here. This is where they hand out communion when they do Divine Liturgy, because it gets pretty packed in here. So that's the house that I was talking about in its entirety there. Big grand entrance. And there's actually a good chapel in there that I could show you. So let's head over there. Probably going to be a little quiet because there might be people praying in there. But candles for prayer intentions over there. And there's a patio actually that wraps around the house that they'll do confessions at, once again when it's not pouring down rain. So let's walk in. Hi, sister.
Hi, how are you?
Good, and you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, sister. And I actually came to Divine Liturgy in here earlier today. So that was kind of the main building there. Sorry I had to be quiet. I didn't want to interrupt people while they were praying. Do a lot of the children's events over in those tents there. There's a bunch of these kind of little shrines all over the grounds. I believe that this is Coronation of Mary, maybe? A statue of Coronation of Mary, I believe. That sounds right. That's what I'm going to go with. Someone might correct me in the comments if they'd like. Got about 1 billion benches here for the memories of XYZ. I made a meme yesterday. There's actually a bench here in memory of Andy Warhol and his mother. Yes, the artist. So we got St. Nicholas. There's another one over there, but I don't necessarily feel like walking over there at this point in time. I'm not exactly sure what it is, though. Over here we have Shrine of the Crucifixion, I believe. And then, I don't know the name of this statue, and I'm sorry, because I should, because everyone knows the name of this statue, but someone can belt it out in the comments, once again. So, it's the one of Mary holding Jesus after his death on the cross. If someone wants to put the name of that one in the comments, go for it. Can I mention that I'm getting pretty wet? Just saying. It's very much not dry. And it's a lot of hills, so there's also that. So, this is the 85th annual pilgrimage, which means that, well, it started what, in 1934? I'm going to say 1934. So, most of the people that used to come to this pilgrimage, most Byzantine church, Ruthenian churches at least, were in Pittsburgh, in the general Pittsburgh area. But people traveled from New Jersey, Ohio, across the country to come to this. And each church would actually have a, staff's not the right word, but it would have, you know, their parish name on it, and it'd have a crucifix and a wreath on top, and we still have them. But traditionally, from what I hear, these old churches would make processions from their hometowns, and it would take days to get here. And these churches would have these massive hymns that would be these, like, 82 verses long Marian hymns that they would just chant on their way to the mount. So, you know, we take for granted that we can just drive here and it takes an hour or two, or, 10 or whatever. But, you know, it used to be days, so. Here's another Marian shrine. I don't think I've ever seen this part not covered in plastic in the 3 years that I've been consistently going to this. And even as a kid when I wasn't consistently going. So, yeah. This is in Mount St. Macrina in Uniontown, Pennsylvania. This is the grounds of the Sisters of St. Basil the Great. So, a little bit more history there. You have St. Basil the Great, who commissioned the Divine Liturgy of St. Basil, is a saint. His mother, or his sister, is St. Macrina. So, they're the order of, or the Sisters of St. Basil the Great, and they're on Mount St. Macrina. It's kind of funny, because technically Macrina would be his actual sister, and they're the Sisters of St. Basil. So, kind of a little interesting something or other. So, I've seen images of when Fulton Sheen came here in 1955, and there were over 100,000 people that came to see Archbishop Fulton Sheen here. Well, he actually did one of the first divine liturgies in English in the Ruthenian Church here on these grounds in 1955. There was a massive amount of people. This giant field here was filled to the brim with people, and we actually had divine liturgy on that altar. So, yeah. I'm gonna cut across actually, because I'm not walking all the way over there. I almost just ate it. Let's not do that. If you can see the little lake over there, that's where we're heading next. That is the shrine of Saint Anne. And it's a very beautiful shrine, especially at night, because there's candles all around it and they're all lit different colors, for people's prayer intentions. And it's just one of the most beautiful things at night, because you have, this candle-lit area with this shrine of Saint Anne and Mary, and there's a kneeler with a prayer to Saint Anne that you can say, and there's benches if you wanted to kind of stay there for a little while and pray. Side note to this altar here, last year we had hierarchical divine liturgy on Sunday, which we'll have again today at 4, and I'll probably live stream that one too. Hopefully it's not raining, because they won't have it out here if it's not raining. So, but my parish priest at the time actually broke his knee falling off the altar here last year. Not a good experience for him. I think he's all healed up now for the most part, so I mean that's good, but it wasn't a good situation at the time, that's for sure. Especially considering he was one priest for 3 parishes. But they also have a you need a team to make You're not wrong. The grounds are gigantic. I mean, for me to have been able to do that, I would need a bike or something. But yeah, I mean, I'd say we're a little over halfway through looking at the main stuff. So here we have the St. Anne Shrine with the lake overlooking it. And actually over there you can see the mausoleum, and the cemetery is actually out past there, where all the Ruthenian bishops who have died are buried. Looks like someone's praying, so I'm going to be quiet, but I'll let you guys see it. But that is the St. Anne Shrine. And as you saw with all of the candles, it's a very, very pretty place at night. Maybe I'll get a picture of it and post it later. So this is actually probably one of my favorite experiences throughout the year, in any regards, religiously or just events to go to. I'm never quite as calm and relaxed and at peace and spiritually able to get into prayer as I am on these grounds. There's no other place in the world I've ever felt so close to God as these grounds. And I think it's in part to do with all the shrines, it's in part to do with all the prayers that are constantly around us. I mean, I got up this morning, there was Matins at 7, there was the Divine Liturgy in Slavonic at 8:30, there's another Divine Liturgy in English at 10:30, there's confessions all day, starting at like 7 and going to like 3, I think, or 5. And, there's just so much packed around you all the time. Last night, Compline started I think 11:30, and Bishop Milan actually led that. So it was a bunch of young adults, because all the old people are in bed by 11:30, especially considering that Matin starts at 7. So you have all of these youth, and I actually recorded this. It's going to be posted, so look forward to that. Very beautiful. So you have all of these youth, and we're singing anaphonically, where the women are getting every other verse. So it's men sing a psalm verse, women sing a psalm verse. Very, very pretty. It's one of my favorite things in the world. I'm happy I recorded it, because I'm going to listen to it outside of here a lot, I'm sure. So over here is the mausoleum, I believe. So don't ask me what's in there, because I couldn't tell you. I just know it's a very pretty building. So for those who have jumped in, I'm kind of doing a little bit of a virtual tour of Mount St. Macrina. Kind of a virtual pilgrimage, if you will, where you're kind of able to see some of the main spots. And I'm going to be posting more live videos of prayer services, time is it now? Divine Liturgy in English starts at 10:30. I'm not sure if I'm going to record this one or if I'm going to wait till 4. This one is for, it's being said for vocations. And then the one in the afternoon, I forget what it is actually. I'll get back to you on that. But I guess we can go in here. Over there's the cemetery. And we'll take a walk over there in a minute. Hello, how are you? Yeah, I'm getting some video girl. Yeah, I'm trying to kind of give an idea of what all's going on the grounds here and all the different shrines. Yeah, it's cool. There's a lot to see, and it's a really cool place to be.
Oh, it is. I started coming here when I was 5.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
probably first time here was when I was like 10, I want to say. So
Oh, okay.
didn't
Good.
start coming a lot until like 3 years ago. I've been here every year since then, but it's probably like 4 times as a kid, maybe before that. So yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm actually live right now, so I'm gonna keep going. But
Oh, okay, bye.
thank you. Yeah. So on to the cemetery. Yeah, Danny, I am 23, actually, so definitely not too old, I guess. That said, I'm probably not smart enough or educated enough to be making the theological claims I tend to. So, here's the cemetery, and a lot of Byzantines are buried here. I mean, outside of, the context of their parish cemeteries. But, the one thing I always find kind of funny going through these cemeteries, and this is probably dark, but is the ethnic names. 95% of these names end with ski or ov. So, I don't know, I find that interesting. This is where the bishops have been buried. So, this is kind of their memorial, I guess, if would be the... So, this is Bishop Basil. He would have been, I believe, the first bishop in Pittsburgh, maybe? Am I wrong? I might be. Anyways, I think he was the first bishop, at least in the U.S., for the Ruthenians. So, he was ordained in 1902, and as a priest, and then consecrated as a bishop in 1924, and he died in 1948. Still before my time. There's another Bishop Basil who was around when I was a kid, I believe. Well, there was, yeah, here he is. Metropolitan Archbishop Basil. Which, as a kid, always confused me because, I heard the Divine Liturgy of St. Basil, and, without it being explained to me, I thought it was in some way related to him, and it was, it took a little while as a kid. Same goes for, actually, never mind, but yeah, so, kind of a dumb, funny thing, I guess. Anyways, we continue onwards to the campgrounds, where traditionally it's been full as can be, but it's raining, and we've become smaller over the years, so it's nowhere near as packed as it's traditionally been, but we're still devout to come and sleep in our cars and tents. I mean, last night I shared the trunk of my Chevy Cruze with my little brother, so I rolled down the seats, and it was a tight fit, but we slept, I guess. I mean, as much as you can doing that. What inspired your love for the Eastern Church Divine Liturgy? So, I was actually baptized Roman Catholic. My dad grew up Roman Catholic. His mother was Byzantine Catholic. So, My dad grew up a Novus Ordo Roman Catholic. That's what I was baptized. And at my great-grandfather's funeral, his grandfather on his mom's side, who was Byzantine, at his funeral, my dad was first introduced to the Byzantine rite, and he fell in love with it. When I was like 2 or 3 at that point, we started going to the Divine Liturgy. So, I mean, it's all I've ever known. I mean, we've been going to Divine Liturgy since I was like 2. We officially switched churches, officially, when I was 7. So that's whenever I was chrismated, confirmed, and received the Eucharist. Traditionally, infants are baptized, chrismated, and receive the Eucharist, but since I was canonically Roman, I wasn't allowed. But my love for the Byzantine Church actually faded a little bit. So, in high school and early college, I completely fell away from the church. It was because of my best friend who got sick, and actually he got really back into his faith when he got sick. Because of him and seeing his faith, that's what got me back into Catholicism. And what kind of got me into the apologetics side of things is I joined a non-denominational Christian club at my university, and it led to me having to defend, what Catholics believe a lot. So, having to defend what Catholics believe kind of led me down that path of, I'm an argumentative person to begin with. Ever since high school, politics, sports, whatever, I like to argue. As I'm sure many of you are aware, I apologize for a lack of chairability at times. I lost my train of thought. Oh, so, yeah, I got into apologetics based on, trying to defend Catholicism against non-denominationals that, accused me of worshiping saints and all that kind of stuff, and, icons or idols, that kind of stuff. So, it kind of fed into that. So that's kind of how I got into what I do now. And I started cantering in my church after I graduated college. My dad was originally doing it. My dad still does Saturday nights. I do Sunday mornings. He does feast days because I live an hour away from my parish, so I just drive in on Sundays. But, yeah, that's kind of what got me into my faith. That's kind of my story. I started making memes last August because Catholic memes didn't post like 3 of the memes I sent them, and I'm like, I can do this. So I invited like 5 of my Byzantine Catholic friends to like the page. They liked and shared. Eventually Catholic Memes shared one of them, and that's how most of you probably found it. I posted a bunch of them to Reddit with a watermark of the Facebook page. I think that might have helped a little bit. But yeah. So over here's the campgrounds. This used to be always just so full, but I mean, you still have us devoutly putting our tents out in the rain. It's a good time. And then we have all of the other parking. So yesterday it was packed to the brim with people that come for one day. And typically Sunday's the bigger day because, everyone gets out of church on Sunday and they come here afterwards. And I mean, there's a good bit of people here. But, and there's a bunch more over that hill there. But, yeah. So, normally a lot more people. And the rain's kind of getting in the way of that. Well, it's slowed down a lot, so thank God for that. Guess we can take you over to the Trinity Center. I have to show you a Byzantine tradition that is probably the main reason that half the people come here. So, there are these cookies. And everyone loves these cookies. They're dry and, they're not necessarily the greatest cookies in the world, but they're a tradition at this point. And I mean, they're good, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, but effectively they were these super dry cookies that, how I talked about earlier, how people would process in, like, their full church would process to this event, and it'd take days or whatever. So on the walk back, they would grab these meadow vinickies, these cookies here, and they'd eat them on the way back or take them home with them to, share with everyone around them. So they kind of originated as a food that wouldn't go bad on the multiple day trek back, and it's a sweet, tasty, you know, hey, you went on pilgrimage, this is your, you know, snack. But there's normally a line. I've seen that line go from where those cones go the whole way up, and at least to this bench here. And actually, if we walk over here, I can show you. So this is Andy Warhol's brother. So it's a bench referencing his family at Holy Ghost Church on the north side. And then I'm guessing that his brother paid for this bench in memory of Andy and their mother. So that's the bench. Andy Warhol, the artist. Not necessarily known for his religious art, but, you know, he was heavily inspired by religious art. If you look at his art, there's a lot of similarities in the style of iconography. Not as reverent by any means, but, you know, you take what you can take with him. He was actually very devout, from what I understand. He went to Mass and Divine Liturgy very often, sometimes daily. Had a good relationship with priests, but he was openly homosexual and practiced homosexuality. So he rarely, if ever, received confession or received the Eucharist. So that's just kind of, a little side note there on him. But very devout. He's actually known to have converted at least one person. So there's that. I'm going to take you to the gift shop here, and I'm probably going to be a little quiet, but I can talk a little bit. This is my favorite place in the world. If I could have an unlimited amount of money in any store, it would be this one. I dropped way more money than I should have here yesterday. All the prayer cards, different necklaces with, you know, saints on them. Got the crucifixes. Then every icon you can imagine. I actually just bought this icon for my dining room because you gotta have the Last Supper in your dining room. It's required. It's a rule. It's basically law. The Theophany, Jesus' baptism. Guardian Angel. King David. Saint Nicholas. The Dormition of the Theotokos. Which a lot of you were saying that Jesus was holding the infant Mary. That's actually not the case. He's holding her soul. So, just a little side note, because I made a meme about that a while back and wanted to point that out. Resurrection. The real struggle with icons is 95% of the time they're in Greek. So you have to know what the image is, otherwise you're kind of screwed. Got the Nativity. This is one of my favorite icons ever. This is Our Lady of the Passion, or Our Theotokos of the Passion, or Our Mother of Perpetual Help. There are two names for it. It's one of my favorites. I could explain some theology here. So, the idea is, as you can see, Jesus' sandals falling off. He had just sprinted to his mother, jumped into her hands, because he had seen a vision of the angels holding the cross and the lance that would pierce his side, as well as the nails that would pierce his hands. So the little baby Jesus jumps into his mother's hands in fear. So it kind of shows that mother-son relationship that was there. The Good Shepherd. There you go. This icon here is titled Extreme Humility, and this is actually on the side altar of every Byzantine church I've ever been in. I'm not sure if it's required, but it's been every single one I've ever been in. Bunch of Marian icons. Jesus icons. Saint Christina, Saint Sarah, Saint Deborah, Saint Macrina. Also, just because I had to be extra, I definitely got an incenser for my icon corner. Don't judge me. And, of course, it's basically required that if you're going to buy icons, you have to be able to get them blessed. So they have a priest right outside here ready to bless your icons. And any other goods that you buy here. So, that's kind of the majority. Actually, almost forgot this, and I would have hated myself a little bit if I would have forgotten this. So this is where we prayed Compline last night. This is the Dormition shrine. So, what can I say? We like Mama Mary. Just kind of how we work, you know? Got the 30th annual Rosary Walk this year coming up, September 15th. So that's 2 weeks from now for those who want to make the drive to Uniontown to go on a Rosary Walk. Oh, we also have the procession tonight, which is going to be awesome. You're not going to want to miss that. I think that's after the Hierarchical Divine Liturgy tonight. Not going to want to miss that. I'll live stream it, don't worry. So, next up is where you get the food when you're on pilgrimage, because, you know, you're not going to cross the street to the Red Lobster or the Olive Garden. They're directly across the street, like 100 feet past the grounds. No, you're going to make a giant line to get your homemade, nun-made pierogies, or your chlebki or your halishki, or whatever Eastern European delight your heart desires. Because, you know, you got the sisters here, and, you know, they need the fundraisers. So, when you come to pilgrimage, make sure you get your homemade pierogies, because they're delicious and cheesy and amazing. And I ate 6 of them yesterday for lunch. Guess we can head into the Trinity Center. There's going to be Divine Liturgy going on, so I'll kind of pop in there real quick. I'm not going to say anything, but I mean, those of you that saw the video of the Hierarchical Divine Liturgy, you've kind of seen the inside of it already, but it's where you buy the cookies I was talking about. So, I love the sound of Church Slavonic, don't get me wrong, but there's something to be said about understanding what's going on around you. And I know a good bit of Church Slavonic as far as knowing what's going on, at least, but there's still something about saying the Divine Liturgy in a language you know. That said, it was said by a bunch of priests and Bishop Milan who all know how to speak Slavonic, so it works out pretty well for them. And it sounds really good. I mean, the choir was amazing today. It's one of the best sounding Slavonic liturgies I've ever heard. But, yeah, so kind of come full circle here. That's pretty much everything there is. So, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys at 4, or maybe earlier if there's another prayer service I can think of, or whatever. Anyways, thanks for watching.